Hi, I'm Richard Friedman, and welcome to my video cartoon for December 2nd, 2025. Moving on into December now, folks. Here we have this cartoon here, and the title of this cartoon is Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth doubles down on deadly boat strike at Trump cabinet meeting today, December 2nd, 2025. So I'm showing you a sequence of cartoons that led up to the finale here, and let's have a go at it. So here is Pete Hegseth just putting up his sign. Now, he just screwed it on the wall there of the Pentagon and Department of War. And there he is pointing to the sign, and this is the foundation for where we have got to today. And Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, I know he won't like that, but it's not Department of War until Congress authorizes it, and they have to vote on it. So until that day comes and Congress votes, we have to, by definition, we have to refer to it as the Department of Defense. Okay, and it was Harry Truman who changed the name from George Washington, who had Department of War. It was President Harry Truman who made the decision to drop the atomic bomb, two atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and ended the war and ended World War II to a good extent. It really ended World War II because the Germans had surrendered and the Japanese were determined they were going to fight the island. And what they did was they put up. They say we're going to fight. So to avoid the invasion of Japan, which would have been like another, or could have been even worse than another D-Day, President Truman ordered the dropping of first atomic bomb. I think it was on Hiroshima, and then they said, Japanese say, no good, no good. We still fight. Then another one came on to Nagasaki, and that was the end of the war. So to say that and he was the one who signed off on it switching over from Department of War to Department of Defense. So they're gloating it as this kind of using a very like a weak woke term to describe the Department of Defense, and this man who made the decision to drop the two atomic bombs on Japan to end the war, he was the one behind that. So there you have a little irony there, okay, whatever you want to call it, okay. So again, here it was here, and here is Pete, and he's proudly just he screwed on the Department of War sign here, and there he is at the Pentagon here, and he's saying, this is a new era of the Department of War with a new ethos that is focused on winning wars, not perpetually defending. Well, President Truman certainly he won that war, and that World War II with those two atomic bombs. And as I said before, now everyone who enters this building, whether it's generals or foreign leaders, will know who we are, and that we are deadly serious about this name change. So here he is laying the foundation here, going at it with the new ethos of a military that's determined to win and fight, and they're not going to stand on protocols or woke ideas. They're going to do what they have to do to win, and this was his approach, and that's why again he wants everybody who comes in to the Pentagon to know that this is America's Department of War, and we don't take any nonsense. This is Pete Hegseth philosophy there, and there it was at the Pentagon a while ago. This was a while ago. Now, what's happened here with these, one last shot here, Department of War, there you have it there. Okay. Now, another thing, this is the given facts about the boat. Now, they've been attacking boats in the Caribbean near Venezuela on the assumption that they are carrying drugs and this and that, all kinds into America to kill our people with these terrible things. But the bottom line here is that they haven't. I think they attacked about 18 boats, killed a lot of people or so. I don't know if exactly 18, but a number of boats. and a number of people have been killed. I think maybe 80 or so. I'm not sure of that either, but a good number. And they've come forth. They've not come forth with any drug paraphernalia or anything that they could show that these were the drugs that they were carrying. This is like they're saying this, and the American people are put in a position where we have to take their word, and we can't see it. We can't see what the where it is. You know, I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm going to say it. The feeling I get here in a little bit is like just like Iraq when Colin Powell stood up at the United Nations and showed us all those homes on wheels. I forget what you call them, those trailers. And he said these trailers here have weapons of mass destruction, and they took pictures in Iraq. And I said, well, I wrote him a letter, you know. I said to Secretary of State Colin Powell, that was under George W. Bush. I wrote, Powell, Secretary Powell, if you want to see some more nuclear weapons being made, you could come by here where I live, and there's a trail parked down the block, and you could see some more nuclear weapons being made, you know. But who knows? We don't know. It would be a good thing if they showed us what they got, and that would certainly it wouldn't. Now the thing is, this has been compounded by the fact that they struck a boat, and the boat was disarmed. The people there were smoldering on a fiery boat, and then they fired a second round and killed them. And these people were helpless. They were just like dead pigeons, you know, like shooting dead ducks, you know, almost dying. And they went around and shot them, you know. And now they say, well, they didn't want the boat. They were concerned that the boat might be used, but the boat was a smoldering heap of wreckage. They were concerned. I think somebody said, it might have been the admiral who said, well, we were concerned about the boat being used again. That boat ain't going to be used again. That is an inferno. So, or those men certainly aren't going to be able to do anything after being nearly scorched to death before they were shot. So I'm laying to you graphically as I could put it, trying to be very objective here, you know, because we do have a problem with drugs coming into this country and this and that. And I'm trying to really give you fair and balanced talk with a little humor in there. So here's the bottom line here, given. President Trump said he knew nothing about the second strike. He knew their boats were being hit, but he didn't know about this incident where they came back and they finished these two survivors off. He didn't know anything about it, President Trump said, and said he would not have wanted a second strike on survivors. President Trump said he would not have wanted that to happen. And the White House claims second strike was ordered by Admiral Frank M. Bradley, that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth really didn't give that order. You see, that's what they're saying here. And revelations have sparked there's a bipartisan concern here, Democrats and Republicans, with some lawmakers saying there is a potential for war crimes because survivors clinging to their smoldering boat posed no threat. They were out of the picture. They were out of action. So, you know, what's the point of that? So that could be a walk with the Geneva Convention and stuff like that. Okay, now another thing here is Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has said he only saw the first strike. He didn't hang around for part two because he had other responsibilities, being the Secretary of Defense. He had other places, other meetings and so forth that he had to attend, and said he supports the decision of Admiral Bradley 100%. And Hegseth added that Bradley made the right call all the way, that he made the right call in eliminating the enemy that was the enemy to America, that these drugs were being carried in by these individuals, and that was that. And Admiral Bradley is going to testify, and they're going to try to get the tapes and the videos and tapes and any records they could get of just what, to the extent Pete Hegseth knew about it and so forth, and to where the blame starts or begins, and is going to. So we'll see what happens there. But this is that was that here. Okay. All right. Now here I drew here thing here this is Pete Hegseth again here, some of the things that he said, and I drew him with an aircraft carrier and a Tomahawk missile, and he said, given on X, this is what he posted on X, Friday evening, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth wrote, "We have only just begun to kill narco-terrorists." You know, it sounds like John Paul Jones, back in around when he was fighting the Revolutionary War. He said his ship, it was a Bonhomme Richard, I read, his ship was under attack in the Revolutionary War by the British, and his men were dying and everything, and the opposing general from the British came right close to the boat and said, "Do you want to surrender?" And John Paul Jones answered back, "I've just begun to fight." You see, but there you had countries at war, and the British were trying to stop us from forming our own country. I mean, there you had something that you had to fight, really had to fight, you know, and that was really a war. That was a war. You know, now I don't. It's questionable now whether we're at war. Is there these people posing a threat to the survival of the United States? I mean, it's another cloudy, a very the fog of declaring war. Pete Hegseth talked about the fog of war, that when there's smoke and everything, that maybe they didn't know there were two men there and they were just killing the boat. That's another hypothesis that they kind of suggested it, that maybe in the smoke and everything, maybe they didn't see the two men. They just went down to kill the boat, to take out the boat, and they didn't even see the men because of all the smoke. You know, they wanted that boat taken out of action completely. You know, it was smoking and burning and everything. We got to get that boat. So that's nothing. And this would be the fog of declaring war. The fog of declaring war is that are we at war or aren't we at war? So people have said, well, if we are at war, then it could be against the Geneva Convention, and it's one thing. And if we're not at war, it's just cold-blooded murder. So either way, there's a problem there for somebody to be accountable for. So that's the story there. And that's the fog of declaring war, because Congress has not declared war, and by the Constitution, I think, to have a war declared, you have to have the support of Congress. So I don't know. I just don't. Well, really, we don't know. But that's the fog of a president acting like we are at war and saying we're at war, and without Congress behind it. So that's a fog unto itself. Okay. So anyway, about the Trump administration. Okay. So here we have only just begun to kill. He's saying here, Pete Hegseth is saying here, we have only just begun to kill narco-terrorists. Again, using John Paul Jones, we have just begun to fight. And reportedly, Hegseth was responding to reporting published earlier that day. Again, this is the Washington Post. You take it as you would. I just give it to you the facts. This is what they reported about the Trump administration first strike on a suspected Venezuela drug trafficking boat. And according to the Post, Hegseth had issued a verbal order to kill everybody. So if he issued everybody, and then he took off and went somewhere else, that order was already issued to kill everybody. So he'd go back. He was following orders if he went back and took him out. But if he assumed that everybody was already dead and they were just taking out the boat, then he thought he killed everybody. So there you have it. So it's really it has to be, again, subject to investigation, and a decision has to be made along those lines. Okay, and the White House has denied this allegation. Okay, so the White House denied that Pete Hegseth issued an order to kill everybody. The White House said no, he never did that. So I'm giving you both sides of the coin here, the Post and the White House. Okay, and here is again Pete Hegseth here, and I drew him. We have only just begun to kill narco-terrorists, and there he is with his aircraft carrier with planes, and there's the Tomahawk missiles. Incidentally, the Tomahawk missiles are on the aircraft carriers. They were not used to take out the so-called narco-terrorists. The Tomahawk missiles were not used on those boats. Those are different kind of missiles that were used, not the Tomahawks. But the Tomahawks are on the Gerald R. Ford here, which is the one of the strong. They say it's the most powerful aircraft carrier in the world, nuclear powered and everything. So they do have Tomahawk missiles on that. So that's how I put it all together here. And there he is with that, saying, "We have only just begun to kill narco-terrorists." There. Okay. There he is. Okay, now, here comes the punchline, folks. Here is what I have here is this. Now, we have the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, doubles down. Here's the cabinet meeting today. Here he doubles down with President Trump in the cabinet meeting. Okay? And here we go. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth doubles down on deadly boat strike operations in the Caribbean Sea, including the controversial September 2nd today strike. No, September 2nd, that was back in September. September 2nd strike, that was way back in September, September 2nd. So October, November, 3 months ago, strike, where a second military attack killed survivors amid allegations of potential war crimes. So that's what I'm saying here. It's either whether it's murder or war crimes. If there's a war declared and we violated the Geneva Convention in killing people who were left helpless, then it's war crimes. Or if it's not a war, then it's cold. It's murder. It's a murder. You know, okay, so that's the bottom line here. Where crime for killing survivors who no longer pose threat. And the White House has confirmed 2 strikes happened, but claims the second strike was ordered by. They're claiming now that it was Frank Bradley, Admiral Frank Bradley, who the White House is claiming, who ordered the second strike was ordered by Admiral Frank Bradley to sink the boat, not to kill any survivors. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so he ordered to sink the boat, but he didn't order the killing of survivors. Again, again, as I said before, that could be interpreted as he didn't see in the fog of war, with all the smoke and the fire, he didn't see the survivors and went to destroy the boat. So that goes back there to what I said before. Okay, again, it was ordered by Admiral Frank to sink the boat, not to kill any survivors. So there you have it. Again, that is the fog of war. So all this stuff has to be seen, and I would suppose that, like when Bin Laden, we had when President Obama watched, they were taken out when they got Osama bin Laden. They were watching all Hillary Clinton. They were all in the Situation Room. They're watching on TV. I guess they were doing the same thing. So all these videos will have to be analyzed to determine exactly whether you could see the survivors in the videos and make a reasonable assessment from the videos. Will have to be analyzed. There you go. I'm no detective, but that's what it comes down to, That's it. So here we have President Trump. Okay, I'm no Detective Columbo, put it that way, but I'm just saying it all comes down to the videos and the conversations that they had, So here goes President Trump, and he's saying here, since we began striking drug boats, drugs coming into the U.S. is down 91%. Now you say 90%. How do you get to 91%? How do you get to 91%? I mean, that's really fine tuning it. 91. You say 90%. Okay, 90%. 91%? That must have been done by a computer or some kind of thing. You say 91%. Okay. All right. Okay. And here goes Pete. And he's saying, we've only begun putting narco-terrorists at the bottom of the ocean. Okay? Now, here is an analogy, a little bit of an analogy that I'm making here in humor, and here it goes. In humor, and here it goes. The analogy. Here it goes. Do you remember the Godfather, Luca Brasi? He slept he slept with the fishes at the bottom of the ocean. Well, here it goes. This is what I'm bringing out here. There it is.
Hang around the house on a floor and be a big help. Huh? Try Luca again. Go ahead. Send you a message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
Okay, that was it. That was it. So that was the thrust of my little humor at the end there. I hope you enjoyed this video. God bless you. Hang in there. And I don't want to show you the whole Godfather movie. Hang in there, and I'll see you next time. And stay well. Bye.